Not all Bluetooth car scanners are created equal. Today I'm going to be putting the top 5 most popular scanners to the test to see which gives you the best bang for your buck. And stick around, because we found a Bluetooth scanner that claims to do it all, and we found it on Temu for only $4. So we're gonna see if it's worth any more than the box that it came in. Now, the scanners we are testing today are Bluetooth, which means that all you get in the box is this little dongle. That's it, which is different than a traditional scanner, which is like this, that has a screen built in, has a wire to plug into the car. With these, you plug in wirelessly Bluetooth to your phone, which is great because it's convenient, small size, and also using your phone as the sort of the computer and the screen allows you to do firmware updates for future releases in the app, versus sometimes the older systems, you had to have like the right kind of computer and you had to go download software and get it in here. It was a big hassle. I'm gonna be going over connectivity, functionality, any special features that they have, and the final price to you, because some of them do have some hidden fees. I've got this old van here. It's got a dash lit up like a Christmas tree. Like every error light you can imagine is on there. Tire pressure, check engine light, ABS system, maintenance required, airbag, as well as brake is on. So we are gonna use all these scanners to diagnose it. All right, first up is the trusty fixed scanner. I'm going to start by downloading the app. So before I was able to even open the app, I had to give them my email address. I'm installing the sensor. All right, so essentially as I'm opening the app for the first time, it is walking me step by step through how to even plug it in. And then they've even got a video of like where the locations are to plug it in, all this stuff. So if someone's never used a scanner before, this is gonna be like super simple. So now that everything's connected, the first thing that I'm getting is a big ad for the premium version of this. There's a big continue button, but I don't want to try. So right away I can see this is a very different layout from like a professional scanner. Obviously there's a giant green button that says tap to scan, and that's what I'm gonna hit. So now this is saying the vehicle does not report a VIN. Oh, sweet. So it picked up automatically a VIN number from a piece of paper. Now we're scanning again. I think it's saying my stored codes are like moderately serious because this yellow circle is pulsing. And this layout is totally like kind of scanners for dummies. Okay, so we've got stored codes. It tells me what module that code is part of the engine. Then it gives me this little summary. And then it says consequences, slightly reduced miles per gallon. And then it would give me the option, I could start a chat with an AI mechanic. So then all the way down at the bottom, it gives me actual info I'm used to seeing in like a real scanner. You know, the calculated load that when it happened, the engine RPM when it happened. So it's obviously deprioritizing these nitty-gritty details. Okay, this is new. One issue found, oxygen sensor code. I think I'm at a disadvantage because I'm used to a traditional scanner and this is like totally different. Oil health? I guess this is a way that I could personalize my vehicle. I could put in the mileage and it would remind me, you know, when I need to do maintenance things like tires, battery, wipers. So I thought that fixed would allow me to scan airbag codes, but it does not. So that's kind of a bummer because a lot of scanners do. What it does do is live data. So I'm going to go into this live data and logging. So this is a little confusing to me because I'm looking for a certain list of things that I'm used to seeing in a normal scanner. And if I didn't know what I was looking for, how would I look for an oxygen sensor when they're giving me 8 options? Okay, so I've added all of the readouts that were available to me, which were 4 of them, which is great because I know that there's 4 oxygen sensors on this car. But I don't know which one's upstream, downstream. And then I'm having this connection issue where like it keeps suddenly asking me what vehicle that I'm connected to, and I have to keep reselecting this van, which is a little annoying. And then as far as price goes, it's $40 for the actual dongle. That gives you all the basic functionality of an OBD2 scanner, which is reading and clearing codes, as well as reading the live data. But then there's also the option for the $99 annual subscription, which gives you some additional features you can see here, like an emissions pre-check, I guess forecasts some probable issues with your car, gives you access to an AI mechanic. You can submit your codes, or you can actually call a fixed mechanic. For me, those additional things aren't really worth $100 a year. So I would probably treat this just as a simple OBD scanner. While we're waiting, you should take this moment to subscribe to Budget Mechanic. Make sure you hit that alert for all future content, which will make you smile. Next one I'm going to try out is by Innova. This is the Innova 1000. Innova is a pretty big brand and carried in a lot of auto parts stores. 20,000 reviews. All right, this app didn't tell me to connect it, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that's what I do. Pairing. So here I have a more traditional layout from what I'm used to with other scanners. It's taking its sweet time. The connection froze, so I had to restart it, and then it did it in a couple minutes. But basically I inputted the mileage, and now it's giving me 2 codes found. I click on that. Essentially, it's just giving me information that this has happened and confirmed, and this is, it's essentially ongoing. Underneath the code, it has a show details. This breaks this down a little bit more for someone that doesn't know what they're looking at. It tells the severity. It literally says layman's definition. So this one says repair immediately if drivability issues are present, which is kind of nice. You can erase the codes, and you can go right on Amazon and buy the parts that it thinks it needs. Now we're under the ABS section, 2 codes in the ABS. So after connecting, we get 2 codes on the airbag side. So that's cool. I get brakes and airbag system checks with this scanner, where I didn't get that with the fixed. This is also where I would erase codes, but I don't want to do that. I've got my emissions readiness section, which I didn't have unless I paid for it on the fixed. But this is essentially what you would do if you were going in to get a smog check. You could do a test yourself and see if you'd pass. So it looks like I have incomplete because of my catalyst and evap sensors. And that emissions failure makes sense because I know I have a bad oxygen sensor or catalytic converter, something going on. Speaking of which, let's look at the live data on this guy. Notice that every section on here, it has to really think about it. So this is at least normal mechanic English. This is a bank 1 sensor 2. I'm going to do bank 1 sensor 1. I can say done, so I don't know which sensor that is. The fun part anyway is going to be on my graph. These 2 sensors are not changing, and leads me to believe possibly one or both of those sensors is bad. It's got a battery and alternator test. I'm kind of curious how they do that. Engine off, but key in the ignition on position. So this is a pretty common test where it's using the load of the headlights to measure how fast the battery goes down. Okay, turn off the headlights, start the engine. Battery test fail. Inspect battery in place if needed. So it doesn't really tell me why it failed, other than it thinks the battery's bad. So it's kind of cool. This van might need a new battery. And just for fun, I'm going to do alternator test. So it says my alternator's good. That's not really anything you can't tell with a normal voltmeter, but it's cool that it's built into the app. You can do a test on your own alternator. So this unit is on sale for 80 bucks, normally around 100, but they do go on sale quite often. And this is kind of future. They offer free future updates as newer cars are added. You don't have to pay for. The one thing you can pay extra for is essentially these professional repair diagrams and repair manuals for $15 a month or $30 a year. It's only good for one VIN, so as a car owner, it might be cool, because I like to find this information myself, but it takes a lot of digging to get it online. It might be worth it. All right, the next one I'm going to look at is the BlueDriver, which is one of the more popular ones that you'll find online. It's pretty highly reviewed, but we'll see for ourselves. Oh, this must be a big app, taking much longer to download. Whoa, big blue light. Connecting. Nice pictures. All right, let's read some codes. So we're going to do the check engine light. So just like the other scanner, I'm seeing the confirmed and pending. If I click on it, option to see the BlueDriver database. So it gives me like how common this code is. Top reported fix. So this is going to be based on certified technicians saying that the top fix for this issue was replacing an oxygen sensor. What you'll notice is a different suggested fix than the Innova gave. This is saying oxygen sensor, whereas the Innova was saying the fuel mixture sensor or something. There's also like a community-based thing where you can actually report the fix that you did and submit it. So as far as I can tell, instead of giving me a list of the modules I can look at, I have to basically scan a whole bunch of them, and then they'll become available. Okay, that took a while. I've got 6 codes. Let's see what modules it scanned. We have the OBD2 ones we saw before, 2 in the ABS system. So these are the same 2 ABS codes that the Innova found. Again, I can click on the error code and can see how rare it is. I can see some frequently reported fixes. So it gives me an idea of how I could potentially fix it. And there's Amazon links if I just want to like go ahead and buy these parts. I must have some sort of partnership going on. Going back out, I've got 1 code in the airbag section, a different name for that code than Innova came up with, but it's the same number. Again, I have the clearing the codes section, freeze frame data, just like the Innova. That smog check the Innova offered as well. And this is what's different about BlueDriver is they offer mode 6. So this is a deeper look into the engine systems. essentially you can look at things going on even before it throws a code. So you can find problems that are cropping up earlier on if you know how to decode this data, which would be something you'd see in a higher end scanner. All right, this is the MIL status, but it's not supported by this vehicle. So this scanner doesn't really fix anything with your tire pressure monitoring system, but it will give you instructions like with this reset button down here on how to reset your light so you can get rid of it on your dash. All right, going to live data. It keeps popping up these pro tips. I'm not sure if it's going to happen every time or if it's just because I'm using the app for the first time. Hopefully not, because it's annoying. This is kind of cool. It breaks it up into bank. I would essentially want sensor voltage on all of them. I can set custom ranges for my graphs. I don't want to mess with that. I can choose my color. See, these are things I don't want to be given options for. Losing points here for the live data, but I do want to see a live graph of it, please. I guess this is the best I get. This sensor is giving me this one is a black gauge. It's like a lot of options, not intuitive, and I want to see them all on one screen like the Innova did. Almost forgot to mention there's a little flashlight logo that turns on your flashlight. So the BlueDriver is 120 bucks. Right now it's on sale for 90. The nice thing about that price is you get everything forever. There's no subscription needed. Next one I'm looking at is the XTOOL AnyScan A30M. So this is the version 2, which just came out recently, which has a couple additional, more advanced features, which we'll talk about later. See how fast this bad boy downloads. Which gives you the battery voltage. That's kind of cool. Okay, now that I've put in my serial number, my activation code, new username, email address, and my password, I'm going to activate. The serial number is invalid. Please try again. This is not a good start. That was painful. It feels a little bit more like a tablet scanner. It's kind of cool. Diagnostic right in the middle. All right, so this wasn't connecting, so I went to my Bluetooth settings on my phone, and I see it listed. It's the same serial number that I inputted. So I haven't had to do that on any of the others. Now there's a blue light on the dongle. It's a good thing I'm so smart because there was no instructions in the box that told me to do that. None of the other scanners had me go into my phone settings. We're gonna try this. Diagnostic. Not giving me any percentages or progress. Okay, this is saying the VIN code you entered could not identify. I didn't enter a VIN and it didn't ask me to. It's also randomly populated a VIN number in there. This app is just turning out to be like not intuitive. Oh, vehicle model was not found. Download the following package in updates. It says I have an invalid license, whatever that means. So I shut the car off, took the key out, closed the app, restarted the app. Now it seems to be connecting. Well, that was horrible, but here we are. All right, so as you can see, like the layout is definitely not sexy, but this is all the stuff that I want to get into. So we could do the basics, which is it wants me to turn this off and then on. We do have codes. It's the P0051, current and history. Live data, let's see what kind of... This is very simple, but I like where it gives me the different categories, and then over here it says whether it's like it's not available or it's available, so I know what to click on. Oxygen sensor bank 1, sensor 2, custom. Okay, cool. If I hit the combine button, it puts all 4 of those selections onto one graph. This is sweet. 2 of the sensors are dancing around, giving me info. So the user interface is a little bit plain and basic, but the information is there. I can actually find it. So compared to the other scanners, I like this live data graphing better because it's just easier to get everything in one place and monitor it all at once. So this is something really cool that this scanner offers that most of the other ones don't, and that is the bi-directional feature where I can actually control parts of the vehicle just using the scanner. So if I go into actuation test, oh, that's too bad. This vehicle doesn't support active test. But if I did have a vehicle that supported it, what it would allow me to do is actually, I could turn on the headlights manually. I could flip the door locks. I could potentially open a throttle body for cleaning. So I could do things to test different elements of the car. So it's super handy when you're diagnosing stuff, and it is usually a higher end feature of a scanner. So it's really cool that they put it on this one. All right, so now we're in the module having to do with ABS. So I can read codes. Yep, we've got the 2 trouble codes and they're current. Doesn't give you any like information about it like some of the other ones did. I could report it. So I can go into the ABS and actually, again, get a list of possible parameters that I could look at the live data on. I could see vehicle speed. I could see the speed of individual wheels. So if I was driving down the highway and I got 0 miles per hour on one wheel, it would let me know, oh, there's something going on with the sensor of that wheel. So it's really handy information. This scanner offers air conditioning diagnostics. Again, I could get live data, actuation tests, and codes if my vehicle supported air conditioning parameters. So the immobilizer section is something you see in more advanced scanners, which allows you to program key fobs, your chipped keys, to pair them with your vehicle, which is something that's really valuable in a scanner because normally you would have to take a key in to get it programmed or go through some really complicated processes to get a key to be recognized by the ECU. I may do a video in the future on programming key fobs and wireless entry stuff. If you're interested in seeing something like that, let me know in the comments. So I'm not going to get into all of these different sections, but I will say it's really nice to see they give you access to pretty much everything I would expect to see on a high-level scanner. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the version 2 of the AnyScan tool dongle, where they added a lot of functionality to reset ECU parameters, which is a little bit more advanced stuff that you would need to do. You can also relearn AC systems. Again, higher level stuff most people aren't probably going to be doing. Now, the XTOOL dongle is $130, which is a little pricey compared to some of the other ones we've looked at. Now, connecting this thing was kind of a headache, and the UI was pretty bare bones, but they do offer free lifetime updates, so anything that gets changed in the future supposedly going to be free. So hopefully that UI also improves. The next one I'm going to talk about is the TopDON TopScan Lite. Now, there is a pro version of this, which we'll get into later, but just keep in mind it's the same dongle, it's just the licensing that you pay for. It's called Top Guru. Here it is. Man, if there was one of these apps that didn't require all my information, it would get big stars. So here is where we would choose between our Lite and Pro version by the serial number and activation code that we got. Device, activate. Free firmware updates for the future, which is great. Real easy to do on the phone. The instructions say we want to download the vehicle that we want to use, which is Toyota. All right, so I'm going to go into diagnostics. It's only giving me the auto scan option here. Oh, okay. At least it's giving me the different modules. So they're just laid out a little bit differently, but if we go to the engine, I'm going to read the codes. It really shouldn't take that long. The code we've seen so many different times, it's all there. Let's check out the live data. The UI is a little more pretty, but again, it's not compact. Looks like I also have a search for O2, so that's kind of cool. I could search to get there quicker. Nice graph, I like that. So the functionality is there. It's just, it's unique. It's giving you 4 different values and it's graphing it. So that is cool. So in addition, we have the ABS system and the airbag system, which are showing the same codes as the other scanners. So that's great. So this scan tool has the bidirectional capabilities that the XTOOL had, but they're calling it active test. It's another name for it. Instead of telling me that this is not supported like the XTOOL did, I now get this list of things that I can actually control from my phone, which is pretty cool. The fuel pump gives me a little instruction on when I can test it. And I can come down here and I can hit on. So I don't know if you can hear that, but the fuel pump is running under the back seat right now, which means that this bidirectional capability is actually working. So I don't know why the XTOOL said that this functionality was not available, but it's working with the TopDON. So fuel pump obviously is a really useful one. Another one is the AC clutch relay. You can actually fire the magnetic clutch in the AC compressor, which is really cool to make sure it's functioning. So again, I can come down here and it clicks, I can hear it. Interestingly, if I go to the fan motor on this vehicle, it is not running. So that tells me that something's wrong with the cooling fan. It's because this is bypassing all the electronics and sensors, and I should be able to fire that fan directly, which makes me think there's something wrong with that fan. Pretty cool. Now, if I go all the way back to the main menu, I also get this hot functions section, which is your oil reset instructions, some advanced stuff like ABS bleeding, throttle reset, ECU options, as well as some airbag reset options if you're replacing elements of your airbag systems. Now, the TopScan Lite is $50 online, but you need to pay a $50 annual subscription after the first year. The Pro version is $100 on sale, and you have to pay $100 annual subscription after that. Now, the Pro version gets you more Pro features, like the key programming, injector programming, TPMS resets, stuff like that. All right, as promised, the $5 Temu special. Weighs nothing, looks like a bumblebee, but let's plug it in and see what it does. Okay, so I'm going to go to the connection, Bluetooth. Okay, I've already seen it gives me engine voltage, RPM. If I would be driving, apparently it would give me speed. All right, let's try trouble codes. Yeah, look at that. P0051, status stored. I don't know what search means. So hitting the search function just took me to Google and entered the trouble code. What does this do for data stream? Whoa, this is actually like one of the better layouts where it actually gives me the information of each section. I don't have to like select it, check box it. Okay, now this is a bummer. This is going back to what the fix did, where it was like oxygen sensor 2. Like, what does that mean? Where is that in the stream? And I can't get any charting of it. Okay, so it's pretty useless as far as oxygen sensors go. But I got RPM, trims, and engine temperature. So it's some really basic info, but it looks nice. Clear the codes, freeze frame. Let's see if that actually works. This would be all the data that happened when the P0051 showed up. Yep, there it is. So this is monitor status since last codes were cleared, sort of emission system. So it's maybe closer to like the IM monitoring of some of the other scanners. All right, so I pretty much have gone through every feature. There's not that many. It is literally just basic OBD2 information, trouble codes, erasing codes, and some live data, not everything. And you can't really graph it, it's just the numbers. But the UI is very pretty, and it does give the information, so can't argue with that. For $5, you get basic code reading. Is there support with this app? Absolutely not. Will there be future updates? Who knows? Before getting into my final thoughts on these scanners, a couple notes on the Bluetooth scanner category. One, for almost all of these except for the Temu one, I had to create an account with the company, which means they got my information, got my email. So by the time I ended filming this video, I already had 8 marketing emails in my inbox. So that is a pain point that I don't have to deal with as much on the standalone wired scanners. Additionally, I just find that the Bluetooth scanners tend to read codes and process a little bit slower than a decent quality wired scanner does. So that's just a little trade-off with going wireless. And lastly, as you saw, none of these 5 scanners were able to automatically detect the car's VIN. And that was just because that van was older than 2008. If you have a car that's newer than 2008, you're not gonna have any trouble automatically picking up that VIN so that you don't have to type it in manually. All right, final thoughts. The Fix D, it's cheap. It's pretty to look at. It's fast to connect. It has helpful tips for those that are just getting into scanning. But the data that it gives you is super limited to just trouble codes and erasing codes. You don't even want to get involved with live data. It's pretty useless. So if you're someone that is not experienced with scanners and you just want to do really basic stuff, this could be a good choice for you. Now, why am I not choosing the $5 Temu special that does essentially the same thing? Well, hopefully it speaks for itself. I wouldn't trust this thing to last till my next birthday. It's basically a clone of a clone, and it disappeared off Temu as soon as we bought it. So you're not going to get any support with it. Plus, it was probably assembled by slaves. So I'm not going to recommend it. Use at your own risk. Next, the Innova 1000 is a little bit more at $80, but it allows you to scan all the modules, ABS, airbags, all that good stuff. It even has a cool little function where you can test your battery and alternator using the scanner. The live data is a little awkward, don't love it, but it is functional and all the information is there. However, it is a bit slower to connect. It even froze on me one time. I had to restart the app to make it work. Could be a good scanner for someone that wants a little bit more information, wants to start using live data, and doesn't want that hefty price tag. BlueDriver, at a similar price point. Right now it's on sale for 90 bucks. This thing offers all the modes that you can scan, including like this pro level mode 6 thing. So they really kind of market this as like a high-end scanner, and it does have a lot of functions, including suggested fixes for codes that you pull up. However, I don't think a lot of DIY mechanics are going to care about mode 6. And in addition, the live data was surprisingly awful. I didn't like it at all. So at this functionality and price point, I'd probably just get the Innova. Next up is the TopDON TopScan Lite. Now this guy comes in at 55 bucks for the Lite version, and it has full access to all the modules, including the immobilizer key programming, TPMS resets, all that good stuff. Also has live data, which is not my favorite, a little clunky, but again, it's all there. Now, the initial setup with this was a real pain in the neck. I had a lot of trouble there. But the main reason that this is a no-go for me is that subscription model. After 1 year, all of those advanced features go away unless you essentially pay for it again every year. If the subscription expires, it essentially becomes just a basic scanner like the Fix D. You can read codes, erase codes, and see some live data. So essentially this ends up being one of the most expensive ones. And maybe they'll change it in the future. I think they should, because it's potentially a really great scanner, but the price doesn't make sense. All right, and last up, the XTOOL scanner. In addition, while the XTOOLs offered the bidirectional functionality, I couldn't get it to work with the van, which kind of confused me and bummed me out. So I went and tried it on a couple other vehicles and it was working great. I was firing the fuel pumps and the fans. So it might have been the age of the van that was the problem. It's just a caveat to be aware of. Those were the negatives, but once I got this thing connected and it was working, it was really feature rich. Like all the stuff that the TopDON can do, it can do it, right? And the live data was actually one of the best of all the scanners. The UI was, as I said, very plain, but clear. I could find everything. There's no frills. There's no like suggested Amazon links, no information about what your code could be. It was just the information. Now at $130, this is one of the more expensive Bluetooth scanners, but there's no hidden fees, there's no future subscriptions. So for someone like me that's working on cars all the time and really wants access to like a full data set, the XTOOL is the best value. If you have any thoughts on any of these scanners or you use one that we haven't mentioned here, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, definitely check out another great one we made where we use a scanner's live data feature to diagnose a really common car problem that you've probably had.